Real Virginia is proudly produced by the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation. For almost a century, Farm Bureau has been a friend of the farm for all Virginians. Visit our website at vafb.com.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Real Virginia, a show about Virginia agriculture and the people who produce the wonderful local products we enjoy. Brought to you by the Virginia Farm Bureau. Here's what's coming up on this week's program.
Some dairies are using technology to reduce labor. Mark Viette has a favorite tool to weed in the garden. And Dickenson County in southwest Virginia is the focus of this month's County Agricultural Close-Up.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Welcome back to Real Virginia, everyone. We're coming to you this week from White Oak Dairy Farm in Hanover County. Hundreds of Virginia dairy farmers have left the business in recent years. Elijah Griles takes a look at how robots are helping some of the remaining dairy farmers stay profitable.
In the same amount of time it takes to get a latte from a local coffee shop, many Virginia dairy cows are milked and ready to take their afternoon nap. That's because some dairy farmers have been employing robots to keep their cows happy since 2011.
So the average cow will go in the robot and she gets a treat, some feed, and she'll go in from 2 to 5 times a day, depending on how much milk she's making. The ones that are producing more milk go in more often, and then the ones producing less milk go in less often. And each time they go into the robot, the average time is about 7 minutes from when they walk in to when they leave.
We've automated every other industry. I mean, why not dairy? The adoption phase in that, like I say, when we first started selling robots in 2011, there was question, will it work, will it, and now, because when I used to take people around the farm, they always wanted to make sure it would actually attach to a cow. And now it's more about like, how can it be efficient for me? They understand, oh yeah, it works.
Virginia has 386 dairy farms, according to the most recent Census of Agriculture. Virginia lost 238 dairy farms between 2017 and 2022, a 38% decrease. Low milk prices, along with higher labor costs, led many producers to leave the field. Brothers Jeremy and Brandon Moyer are fifth-generation farmers at Okmulgee Dairy Farm. They've milked their 330 cows with robotic milking machines for 4 years.
Before, we were milking in a milking parlor, which is a room where the cows come in twice a day. They get milked, they leave, and they come in groups. And that was a very rigid time, normally 12 hours between the milkings. Once we transitioned to this, it is very flexible on the timing of when we have to do things for the cows, and then also the cows milk 24 hours a day.
Using an electronic collar and the data collected during milking, the Moyers can keep a close eye on cow health.
The robots sample the milk for quality. They sample the temperature to see if the cow maybe has increased temperature from having a fever. Then it also just shows the production, the amount. So if a cow's feeling good, she's going to eat a lot, she's going to make a lot of milk.
In nearby Prince Edward County, Wade Jenkins and his family run Boot Hill Dairy. They installed robotic milkers in 2021.
It's a lot less work for us. I mean, nobody's here all the time. The robots just kind of do their things. We don't have to be here to actually milk the cows ourselves. We get a lot more done, can be spread out in a lot more places than actually having to be here and babysitting all the time. You cut in some of your labor cost, and with the cows being calm and settle down, you get a lot more milk yield than having to push the cows up to get them to milk. They're in a parlor, it's hot here, a lot of stress-free, and it really helps in the milk production itself with just the cow being able to do what she wants to do when she wants to do it.
Jenkins believes his family's transition to robotic milking is an integral part of preparing for the next generation.
With the way the market is and stuff, you have to maximize profits the best way you can, because it's a hard business to be in. So if you can maximize your profits, that's really the only way to go. And with the technology and all that the robots have,
Automated milking is carefully coordinated for cow comfort and milk quality and safety. The whole process only takes 7 minutes.
She'll come into a commitment pen, which is a one-way gate, and then each side, they have 3 robots to choose from, whether they want to be milked on the right or left-hand side. And cows are kind of like people, and they have specific ways they want to do things. Robot arm comes underneath the cow, and brushes swing out, and each teat is scrubbed with a cleanser. The arm swings out again, brushes the teats again, the arm swings out of the way, and then the laser scans as they udder. It goes up and down and scans for new coordinates. Once each teat is found, it blows each teat off with air to dry it off, and one by one each teat is connected. Once all quarters are connected, the robot arm sinks down and under the cow.
There are 25 dairies using robots across the state. Outside of the parlor, a robot that looks like R2-D2 pushes feed in reach of the cows. All the automation allows the farmers to harvest crops for feed in the fields, as well as improving their quality of life.
Before we moved here, we would get up about 4 o'clock in the morning, be out of the barn by 4:30 to get the cows in to start them milking. And like I talked about before, their udders were full. They were ready to get milked. They're waiting on you. So you're getting up early, might come in and take a nap, and then you'd work another full day and then milk them again that evening.
Adopting robotic milkers has helped bolster teamwork between these farmers and their cows, and help keep Virginia's remaining dairy farmers in business.
If we can keep the cows comfortable and healthy, they'll keep us comfortable and healthy.
Reporting from Amelia County, Virginia, I'm Elijah Griles.
Got milk? June is National Dairy Month, and Virginia dairies produced more than 165 million gallons of milk in 2023. Virginia is home to 66,000 dairy cows, with each one producing about 8.1 gallons of milk each day. Sometimes called nature's sports drink, each glass of milk is packed with 13 essential nutrients that can help with everything from sports recovery to long-term bone and heart health. Milk is Virginia's 5th largest agricultural commodity by sales, and Rockingham is the top milk-producing county.
I'm Mark Viette. Coming up on In the Garden, we're going to talk about the swing hoe. Stay with us.
Farming is a rewarding way of life, but it can also be full of challenges. If you or someone you know is struggling, call or text the AgriStress helpline at 833-897-2473. It offers 24/7 access to professionals who can support someone in need and help find mental health services in your community. Please make the call, because healthy farms depend on healthy farm families. That's 833-897-2474.
Many gardeners know that by early summer, weeds are taking hold. Mark Viette shares some tips for using his favorite tool to remove weeds in the garden.
When you have weeds in a garden, especially around a bird feeder, now, if these were sunflowers, that'd be great. You know, the more the sunflowers come up, the better. But this is sort of the millet or parakeet type bird seed, the very fine seed. Not all bird seed is treated or killed. I know Niger seed is treated before it comes into this country. So here we have some weeds that are coming up. One of the hoes we used to have, you used to have to chop, and you really don't want to do that. All you want to do is use something like a swing hoe, and it is sharpened by itself because the soil is here, and as it pushes and pulls through the upper quarter-inch of soil, it sharpens the blade. It sharpens the blade almost like a razor. So you just come through, and all you're doing is cutting these little weeds. I'm going to show you another area with thousands of weeds. So you just push and pull, and it does, you usually do the entire area because there's seedlings that are germinating. So certain types of weeds can be eradicated using the swing hoe, but a dandelion, as you see here, has a nice long root. So if you cut just the top of a dandelion off, that root will regrow and make a new weed. Harder to get out the second time. This here is Galen Soga. It has yellow flowers, and it's almost like a dandelion. Each seed has a little parachute and gets carried all over the garden. The swing hoe works on that. Then one of the weeds I like the least, and a weed is a plant out of place, so remember that, is I call it the popping weed. So if you come in and you touch the seed pods, they explode and they spread their seed 1 to 2 feet away from the plant. This can be controlled with a swing hoe. And pretty much those weeds I picked, I have in here. Here's the popping weed, but I'll show you that in a minute. So you just come through as shallow as possible. You don't want to do that because you might break the swing hoe, even though they should last a very long time. So you're just going to come in and push and pull. You're going to work around your plants like a tulip and a narcissus. They come in 4-inch and 6-inch, and they even make 1.5 inches to get around plants. And you do it on a dry day just like today. Great workout today. Beautiful weather, soil's not too wet. I'm Mark Viette. Join me next time in the garden.
Email your garden questions to viette@viette.com.
Coming up, we'll visit scenic Dickenson County, historic gateway to the West in pioneer days, in our county agricultural close-up.
Every spring and fall, Virginia farmers and other motorists nearly collide on rural roads. Sometimes these collisions can be dangerous or even fatal when a car traveling 55 miles an hour suddenly meets much slower moving farm equipment. The odds of a collision shoot up. Farm equipment operators are required to display a slow-moving vehicle emblem when they're on a public road. When you see that, slow down. Give them plenty of space to do their job. This message brought to you by the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation Safety Advisory Committee.
Fresh Virginia potatoes are in season in June. Chef Tammy Brawley shows us a unique way to roast them, either as a side dish or the main event, from the heart of the home.
Hi, I'm Chef Tammy Brawley from the Green Kitchen. Welcome to Heart of the Home. Today I want to show you guys how to make a delicious potato recipe. I love doing this. Kind of came to me a couple of years ago and I was like, yeah, let me just try that. You have got gold potatoes and you actually want to use your knife, and I'm going to show you that, but you want to slice them down somewhat thinly as I'm showing you here, not all the way to the bottom though. You want to kind of leave them open. So I'm going to do one here for you instead. You want to put your knife blade in, kind of rock it back and forth a little bit. Don't cut all the way through. You just want it kind of to the bottom a little. And this will take just a couple of seconds here. Usually I get about halfway across the potato and then I will turn it in the opposite direction so I can avoid my fingers mostly. And then in the meantime, what we've got going on over here is I am warming up some butter in a saute pan, and I'm also going to add some oil to it. You know, people often ask me, why are you using 2 fats? Oil is there to actually keep the butter from burning, and butter is certainly there for flavor. So there you have it. You've got 3 potatoes that have been somewhat fanned out. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of oil to my butter that I've got going on. Probably about the same amount. So it's about 2 tablespoons of butter to about 2 tablespoons of oil. Kind of roll your pan around a little. And you want your heat on somewhat high, so I'm actually going to turn this up. Now, my little pan here is warped, but in this case, we're going to use it to our advantage because we want it kind of leaning down. We're going to take the potatoes, we're going to put them in the hot oil or hot fat. I always start with the bottom of the potato there. We can move that around a little. That's going to start cooking, and it's going to start browning, which is fine. That's what we want. And you want to have your oven on about 425, kind of a preheat, because we are going to be using the oven in addition to the stovetop. So we're turning those around, getting them coated. Now, I'm not going to add the garlic, and yeah, there is a little bit of garlic. We are going to add some salt and pepper to the top. You can hear that sizzle, so they are starting to sear a little bit. If you lean your pan, you should be able to get in there with a spoon, coat the potatoes. Now, I've got some garlic here. I'm going to go ahead and add it. I kind of sort of put them over the top, but it's okay if it goes in the fat. What's going to happen, and these are going to roast in the oven, and the garlic is actually going to burn, for lack of a better word, but I love it crispy like that, and I think that's wonderful. While that's going on the first part, what we'd like to do is show you about slicing the garlic. When you see this recipe, it's going to tell you to chop it. I actually prefer slicing my garlic when I cook, so I'm just going to do nice thin slices after I've cut that core off. I'll go ahead and add a little bit more garlic. I usually do typically about 1 clove of garlic per potato. All right, you can see the garlic starting to brown a little bit, which is great. The butter is starting to go a tad brown. All right. So now what we're going to do after they get a little crispy on the bottom, let's just check to see if they're a little brown, starting to a little bit. Now we're going to pop them in the oven, 425 degrees, for about 15 minutes. All right, and now the potatoes have been in the oven for about 15 minutes or so. You know, your oven might be different than mine. It might take a little bit of less, a little bit more, but they are on 425. We're going to pull them out and see what they look like. Ah, smells heavenly. So there we have it. Now I want to show you that, yes, that is burnt garlic. But just like the burnt ends of any sort of meat you cook, it is so delicious. I love it. It's nice and crispy. We're going to move them here. I'm going to go ahead and put 2 on the serving platter. I'm going to go ahead and put 1 on the cutting board just so I can show you that. With my spoon. Nice little brown butter to go on top of that. Not quite sure why they're called Hasselback potatoes, but when they are fanned out like that, they tend to roast very nicely, and I love doing it that way. So now we have one here on our board. I'm just going to kind of go through to the middle. Oh, gosh, I love these potatoes. I've never met a potato I didn't like. And you can see those nice crispy brown spots there. Delicious with any sort of dish you want to make them with. All right, and there you have it. Hasselback potatoes, nice and crispy. Join us next time on Heart of the Home.
Recipes from the Heart of the Home can be found on the Virginia Farm Bureau website at vafb.com/recipes, as well as on Chef Tammy Brawley's website at greenkitchenrichmond.com.
While producers in other states raise more potatoes than in Virginia, farmers on the Eastern Shore have found a profitable niche for their crop. Each spring, the potato harvest moves up the East Coast, from Florida to New England, as the seasons change from spring into early summer. Early June is when Virginia new potatoes are in their prime, and growers have shipments lined up for grocery chains all the way north into Canada. In 2022, Virginia growers raised potatoes on 481 farms, covering more than 3,200 acres. Most Virginia potatoes are bagged for quick sale, but some are made into potato chips.
Located in southwest Virginia, Dickenson County is home to some spectacular views, like this one at Breaks Interstate Park. Part of it is in Virginia, and the other part is in Kentucky.
Breaks Interstate Park was given its name by Daniel Boone when he passed through the area in 1767. It's one of only 2 state parks managed by 2 different states, Kentucky and Virginia, and was created by an act of Congress. Park leaders worked with the Virginia Department of Forestry here to perform the first prescribed burn to prevent larger wildfires.
So what the breaks is this 1,000-foot deep canyon centered in the middle of the central Appalachians here in Dickenson and Buchanan counties. And it's basically, we've got a 5-mile canyon that's probably one of the deepest and most rugged in the eastern United States.
Dickenson County is heavily forested, mountainous country. Broadband access is improving, but right now only 62% of the farms here have internet access. But the terrain is friendly for raising certain types of livestock.
Our land here is ideally suited for sheep production. It's hillsides, predominantly mountain pasture. We can run about 5 ewes where we could 1 cow. And the acreage, most of the farm acreages here are smaller, so you could have a pretty good little flock of sheep, 25 or 30 ewes, where you could only run 4 or 5 cows.
Most livestock producers are raising sheep or cattle on land that was strip mined and later restored as the economics of the coal industry changed. That's the case for Freddie Mullins, who with his wife Karen raised 25 cattle on his property. He also has an impressive collection of restored farm wagons and other vehicles from the pioneer days.
There was a coal wagon. Get that thing where it come out. Open it like that, let your coal come out the back.
This camper is another example of what early agriculture was like in Dickenson County.
It's what the sheep herder lived in when he's out on the open range. They put his bed right up there.
It's got a table that pulls out.
Mullins also has a working spring well on his property, and he can remember a time before households had running water in their homes. One of the people involved in improving the water supply here is Bud Phillips. He's a retired judge who also served in the Virginia House of Delegates and worked on drinking water legislation in Dickenson County. Now he spends his time raising 100 Angus beef cattle with his son.
Originally, the mountains here were a bastion for people coming from Europe, primarily looking for cheap land. And they came into this area right after Daniel Boone, late 1700s, early 1800s. And they bought tracts of land here on the mountains, and they put their farms together and grew subsistence crops, hogs and sheep primarily. And then later the coal mining and timber companies came.
Phillips was also involved starting the Coalfield Agricultural Center near the Red Onion Prison. In addition to processing beef cattle, there's also space for ag in the classroom presentations and equipment for farmers to use. The Virginia Farm Bureau was also involved in this project, according to Wise Dickenson County President Gwen Fleming.
After we got some funding, McFall Excavating from here in Clintwood and JWT Enterprises from here in Clintwood donated equipment and man-hours to level off the site.
Dickenson County has 108 farms, covering 10,617 acres. In 2022, the annual market value for agricultural products was $499,000. Most of the farms here are less than 50 acres. Livestock covers $400,000, with cattle and calves making up $299,000 of that. Sheep come in at $67,000, and horses bring in $12,000. And sometimes horses inspect and block the path of visitors to Bud Phillips' farm. Crops come in at $99,000, with hay leading the way at $77,000. Betty Dotson is one of several beekeepers operating in Dickenson County. There's a bee club where enthusiasts meet once a month. Dotson is comfortable around the bees, and she isn't afraid of getting stung.
They're used to me, but generally they have their business to take care of, and once you come around them, it's like any other pet.
Carving a working farm out of the steep slopes of Dickenson County has been a challenge for generations. Whether they're farming on restored mine land or building ag infrastructure, the people of Dickenson County are determined to keep agriculture an important part of the county's character for generations to come. In Dickenson County, I'm Burke Moeller reporting.
We're so glad you could join us to celebrate all the bounty Virginia has to offer, from the kitchen to your home and garden to our beautiful wide open spaces. We're proud to say that this is Real Virginia. For everyone from the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching. Make it a great week.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Today, consumers want to know about where their food comes from more than ever before. Nearly 90% of Americans trust farmers and ranchers. That's one of the highest trust ratings of any profession in America, and it gives Farm Bureau members an amazing platform to tell their stories. The Farm Bureau Promotion and Education Program empowers farmers to share their story with consumers, bridging the gap between field and fork.
Consumers want to hear from farmers. We are the voice of agriculture, and for us to talk about our operations, to talk about farming, and to talk about agriculture as a whole is really what our consumers want. They want transparency, and they want us to share what we do every single day, and nobody knows it better than us.
Promotion and Education is a committee on the national level and county and state level that actually helps us as farmers have tools to talk to anybody that is interested about agriculture. I say I talk to people from 8 to 88, and anybody who wants to learn about what we're doing on the farm, I want to be that person to talk to, and Promotion and Education gives me the tools to do that.
Farm Bureau programs offer all Farm Bureau volunteers the chance to get involved at the local, state, and national levels. A variety of promotion and education activities occur each year, engaging members of all ages. At the American Farm Bureau Convention, the Promotion and Education Committee offers members an action-oriented consumer engagement program called CCI.
Promotion and Education Committee, to me, is extremely important for me to share my story, voice my opinion, and be able to make that connection with the consumers. It's really important for me to share our beautiful lifestyle with those who don't get the opportunity to experience at any other time.
Connecting consumers with where their food comes from and making sure that they understand what we do to make sure that they're getting safe and healthy food. The same food that I feed my children is the food that I grow and I put in the stores for them. And that's so important to help gain confidence in what we do.
People don't know what they don't know, and farm life is not familiar to most Americans today. As the nation's largest grassroots general farm organization, our members are the voice of agriculture. The Promotion and Education Program gives members all across the country the opportunity to work together to elevate the story of agriculture.